Okay, I've asked Jessica, is this a good time for you?
Sure.
Okay, I've asked Jessica to give us an introduction of her qualifications and her experience, and because I didn't know about Jessica until I read it in the papers, so we had no input really. So I'm happy to see you, and
Thank you.
could you let us know? Yes.
Sure.
Do you need a mic?
I think I can talk loudly enough.
Okay.
I'm Jessica Townsend. I am the land use administrator. I have. Does that work? I consult with a certified planner from NVCOG. Right now it's once a week, and he's available to me additional hours for just referring and questions and whatever else I want to ask him. I've been working for the town of Southbury since, I think it was June I got hired. I started as the zoning enforcement officer and the wetlands enforcement officer. Before that, I was doing regulatory work as an environmental scientist for the Department of Environmental Quality down in Louisiana, mostly underground storage tank stuff. And I have a background in law enforcement. I worked in law enforcement for 8 years, so I'm familiar with enforcement action and enforcing regulations and that sort of thing. I worked for, that was when I was working for the DOC, for the state of Connecticut. I quit that job to go back to school full-time, and I got a degree in environmental science, and shortly thereafter I moved down to Louisiana and had that state job down there. And now I'm back up here. I grew up in Southbury too, so I know the town and most of the people here. Well, I wouldn't say most, but you know, some. So I think that's about it.
Very nice, thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. If you have any questions, feel free. I'm available.
Okay. I also made a call to our COG person. There's a new department now in COG. It's called the Strategic Planning. Is that what it's called? Yes.
Can you move a little closer to the mic?
Yeah, it's called, they're called strategic planners, and I spoke with him today because I had no knowledge of what his background was, and none of us did. And so I have from him, he's a shared municipal planner. He has the regs, he has the POCD, he will get the subdivision regs, please, Debbie. The Southbury Training School, our project there, and the Southford Village regulations. He can work a few hours, 3 days a week. It was told to me by Rich, and so I'm asked to pass it on, that the way our procedure will work is that if anyone on the commission has a question, bring it to Rich, and Rich will in turn bring it to Jessica, and Jessica will confer with Keith so that we have a yes, it is. He also works in Seymour in the same capacity, in Beacon Falls and here in Southbury, and they're hiring a second person because he's overworked being the consultant for those 3 towns. He was a city planner in Naugatuck and in Waterbury. He said this is a temporary position for him, he's been told. And he's been asked by our strategic planning committee, it's not a commission, even though online it says it's a commission, it's a committee, they're coming up, I guess you would know better than I, Ron, with a prioritization of focus for town future planning.
Is he gonna be doing, who's doing the POCD and who's doing the affordable housing plan?
He's doing neither.
Neither?
He will review. We have an RFP out for the POCD update, and I just have no communication. I don't know how far that's gone, if they're interviewing, and we also, it's our purview to, when it gets down to maybe 3, to interview all three at a special meeting so that we have input to who we think should be hired. And we have done that in the past. It's our tradition and it works well. That's all I know about the POCD and the affordable housing.
Yeah, and it's Mike Rosen. I could just chime in. You know, I think we'll get an update at our meeting on Thursday. I don't know what the closing date was for the RFP proposals. But I know Jeff had updated us last time that was in process. But I might know more next week. And I would, suggest that Richard certainly get in touch with Jeff for an update.
Okay, and
I can give you an update on that if you want.
sure.
Keith and I met with Jeff last Tuesday, and what we've worked out, they've narrowed it down to two RFPs based on the price, and the quality too. And so the way it's gonna move forward is there's gonna be a committee formed for it that will consist of, I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but it's gonna be a very small committee just to expedite the process. But Rich will be on it, as well as myself and Keith. So as I find out more, I will keep you guys updated.
Yes, and I hope it's communicated that the way it's worked in the past is that we will have input. We're all elected.
Rich has made that
planners.
very clear. I've talked to him on several occasions,
Mhm.
and they're not trying to exclude the commission. It's just, it's not to that point yet, I believe.
Okay, it's already down to two?
I say that, but that's been the discussion, but it's not formal.
Okay, thank you. Under unfinished business, the 8-24 for Berkshire Estates Camaros. I think everyone got Jessica's review. Up for discussion. Oh, you're here, thank you. Okay.
Should I sit down here or sit down there?
We'd like to hear you, so I don't know where the mic is that you can
I'll sit
use.
down over here.
Okay.
No problem.
Go ahead. Tell us what you would like to present based on your last input.
So I was just curious to see what your guys' decision was as far as all these pieces go. From what I can gather and what I've been asking about, it seems there might be an issue because of an existing paper trail for the other lots over by the water. But as far as the 0.62 acres that does adjoin and touch my current parcel of property. If that's pretty straightforward and it seems that can go through without any, second question or anything, that's the biggest piece that I'm concerned with because I just want to get the ball rolling on that with the house and stuff. But as far as that 0.11 acre and the one right on the water, if I have to come back and revisit at another time for that, then so be it, But tonight my main focus really is just the 0.63. If we can get that approved and get the ball rolling on that for the next first selectmen's meeting.
Where do you represent that your property touches?
It's 76 Berkshire Drive,
Yes.
and if you look on the map right there, it's the 0.32 acres. It's long and narrow. It's only 50 feet wide by 280 feet long. So if I can acquire the 0.63 acres that's highlighted in orange right there, that will afford, because currently right now my house has a cesspool. It's about 20 to 25 feet at best away from the road, the front of the road. My well is by the road and my cesspool is only about 30 feet away from my well. So I want, the whole point of that parcel is to get that house away from the road and also have a proper area for a septic system over there. My first time buying a house. It's gonna be where I'm gonna live, I'm in it for the long haul, so, you know. And I figured initially when I went in here, since being so close to the water, cause literally if you stand at the edge where that, and believe me, it looks big on paper, but this is a very zoomed in view of these backyards. It's not really a lot of room, but if I were to stand over by that paper trail to where the water was, I could literally throw a stone into there. That's how small these little parcels are. But
And that's identified as Fish Rock Road?
that is Berkshire Drive.
I'm sorry,
right there.
Berkshire Drive?
Yeah, Fish Rock's the next thing on the agenda.
Yes, yes, yes. And, okay, and,
So I wanted to see if I could come in here and acquire those 3 little parcels at once, but if there's gonna be an issue with the 2 smaller parcels because of the little separation of the paper trails, let's just focus on the .62 for tonight, cause that's the one that technically touches with no issues, if I can get that approved, cause I wanna get the ball rolling on some other things and permits and stuff.
Ron?
Okay, if I understand this correctly, you want to buy 20B-30-14-16. Is that correct?
Yes,
And you're establishing where his lot is now also
Pardon me?
for the abutting question?
He says he's more, and I would be too, he's more impressed or more anxious to buy that piece of property and not discuss the other property or might take a bigger discussion.
exactly. I don't wanna prolong this whole, I wanted to see if I was able to get all 3 pieces at once, but if the trails are gonna be an issue, because, and believe me, they're existent on paper, but they don't exist anymore. Those trails really are not there or really, you know, used. These are just old paper trails from that old map, but,
Unfortunately, though, they're registered in the town of Southbury.
yeah, I
And
understand
we have to
that,
adhere
yeah.
to our regulations so we don't set a precedent. Do you
Exactly.
understand that?
I'm under that impression now, yes.
Okay.
You know, so if that's gonna be an issue that's gonna prolong this process, I can come back and revisit that at a different time.
Mhm.
But if tonight we can just settle on this one piece, that's my biggest interest, like he was saying.
Alex, you have something? No?
No comments?
Anyone else? Well, you see in the review what our regulation says. So as much as we'd like to do something, we have to abide by the regulations and not establish a precedent.
Yeah, no, I want, but there's nothing that blocks him from buying that piece of property. Am I correct?
Not the .63,
Not .6, yeah,
but if you notice the 20B-32-21-23, that's highlighted in blue,
yeah,
and then right in front of it, that 20B-32-15, that .11 acre, .11 acre. I wanted to see if I could acquire those 2 little pieces, just so I could have a little spot on the lake, but if that 2 little parts is just gonna be too much of a prolonging issue, let me just take care of this other big piece first,
And did you represent that you wanted to, at the last meeting, I didn't see it in the minutes, that you wanted to put a dock in?
it was just talk.
Okay,
I
just
could have a spot there, put up a chair, but maybe in the future something, I mean, obviously I'd have to go through the town for all that stuff and everything, but I'm not,
yeah,
that was just talk.
And I would say, I mean, as a separate issue, that
right.
in looking at the
And if it's not, it's fine, you know.
14
Excuse me, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
14-16, I think is a separate issue from the
Yes.
other parcels, so we can address that tonight. I think
Okay.
it's a bigger issue for the planning commission to come up with these, a more, I don't know, guided approach to how we're going to handle
I agree.
the non-abutting properties as those requests increase.
Yeah,
And how we're going to make sure that the town is allowing, kind of a more fair process for people to purchase, not just, someone just coming in and saying,
Yeah.
oh, that.
the
one."
issue is usually septic.
Well, or that it abuts the property, those guidelines have been established, but for parcels that don't abut property, which I think we're seeing increased requests for, which is a larger and separate issue, which we may want to add to an agenda item.
That policy is actually set out by the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
The disposition of town
Yeah.
property, so that's something they would have to change and address.
Right.
And I agree, I think it would make sense for the town to sell off those pieces and, recoup tax on them, but it's not something that this commission can do anything with. That said,
Right.
I do believe it would be in our best interest if I did a site walk on this property before it was approved for him to purchase it. I've been waiting for the snow, and I know that you mentioned you'd do that with me. I don't know what your schedule is, we can touch base.
But to move things forward, can't we make a positive referral to the Board of Selectmen to have him acquire the one piece of property that does adjoin?
That one, yes, that's unconfirmed.
And that way, the gentleman can get going with his project,
Right.
as long as the sale goes, goes forward. But I think we could
We have
make
no
a
problem,
motion for
right.
a positive referral on the one piece of property and look at these other two pieces of property down the road, whether it be,
Exactly. My biggest concern is I wanna get building, so.
So I don't know if you need a motion to that effect, but I would make
Yes,
a
you
motion
do.
for a positive referral for the sale of 20B-30-14-16, which consists of .63 acres.
I'll second that motion.
Okay?
Okay, Alex seconded it. For discussion, yes, Ron?
Tentative based on the findings, when you walk the property,
Of a site walk.
the cycle.
For this
No,
piece?
I
For the
think
abutting?
there should be, yeah, in case there's, road drainage onto the property or anything like that, just to be sure
So
what,
when it goes
it's
back
not
to the
problematic.
or dumping.
Okay, but can we try to make sure that that happens in the very near future so that
Yeah,
we can keep this
Yeah.
going? But we'll still make the motion for the positive
Right.
referral.
Yeah, subject to then, we'll make
Okay,
it if you can.
subject to the
Uh,
site inspection,
Approvable, yes. By staff,
by Jessica, the staff, yes.
okay. Yes, you approve of with your second
I'll still
of the
second
amendment? Okay, any further discussion?
Okay. I just wanted to make one comment. I mean, you're still gonna do your site walk.
We
right?
have a motion on the table, so,
Oh, I'm sorry.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes, thank you.
Okay. No,
Good luck.
I just
Good
wanted
luck.
to say, it is just a patch of flat woods, so just
Yep,
FYI.
It'll be an easy walk.
good. Just FYI. So,
Okay,
You're all
thanks.
set with me, right?
yes,
Yes, thank you,
thank
good
you very
luck.
much, sir.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
For the house, the septic system is not in the middle of the.
Well,
Well, I mean, that's.
we're getting there. We made a step in the right
Yeah,
direction.
this is one small step in many other steps, but thank you very much.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is 8-24 to purchase land in Lakeside, Perkins. Did you have a review? Because I did not get it.
Yeah, it's here somewhere.
that's right. Yes, I did not do a review on this one.
No? Do you have a map? Anyone here for Perkins?
This is from the last one.
Oh.
That's right, yeah, I did one last time for this, and this was another one I need to do a site walk for, but I've been waiting for the snow to be gone and all of that, so I can do a site walk of this property at the same time as I do the one for Mr. Camaros and the Berkshires.
Okay, and what is the status situation of this application? Are there any problems with it that you observe?
Not that I'm aware of, I just wanna make sure again that there's not road drainage onto the property, and there's no reason that the town shouldn't convey it to a resident.
Does it abut another
Yeah, this one does.
It does.
It doesn't abut the property owner. There's a road in between, correct?
That's a different.
No, not that one.
That's
It's
That's
the
a
next-
different one?
Yeah.
Next one,
That's
Okay.
Barrows, that's under other business.
yes.
Ah, oh,
That's-
my apologies.
No, we got a number of them.
Yeah,
It's
Perkins was
easy to
from the
confuse.
last one. Yeah, it got carried over only because you.
Okay, so we have two options. We can send a positive recommendation to Board of Selectmen, or we can table it till next month with, subject to the walk. What would you like to do? Need a motion?
I think if we're gonna make a, a standard, issue of walking properties for one person, we should be walking properties for all these then.
Except that there was a problem in now, this one, well, no, I guess there was a problem with what we passed.
We don't know.
Okay, it's up to you. Need a motion?
Can we table it pending
Yes.
the sidewalk?
Yes, that's an option.
I make a motion, table it till the next meeting pending the sidewalk.
I'd second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Tabled to the March 6th, 20th, I think, April 20th, I think it is. Okay, under other business, 8-24 referral Barrows.
That's the one we have.
Yes.
Now I'm on board.
And again, we have to apply the abutting principle. There's a road in between, I guess, on this one.
I'm sorry.
There's a road in between
Yes.
these two, so we don't really have much of an option. We need a motion. It's been reviewed. Everyone get the review?
Make a motion based on our current standard that it does not abut the property owner's parcel, that we do not make a positive referral. So we'll make a negative referral.
Thank you. And there's a second? Ron?
Second that.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and this is a referral, Riverview Cinema and Playhouse, Mr. Stu.
Hugh Sullivan. If I may. I am. I probably just pass those down, please. Oop, you need one?
Thank you.
If you take the paper clip off, there are,
Thank you.
3 packages that I'll review tonight with you. For the record, I'm Hugh Sullivan. I'm an architect with Bennett Sullivan Associates. Tonight I'm before you with an application that we submitted to the Southbury Zoning Commission for text amendments to PDD 20. A tenant was trying to get a building permit for the lower level of the building, and maybe at this point, Jessica, if you might be able to help me along, it's for an MRI for the hospital, and they couldn't get the permit because the PDD said that this was a basement. It's not a basement, it's a lower level. So we've gone through the PDD, and I've put in the information that would be required to update the PDD, so it's really kind of custodial, because there were things that are left hanging. And for instance, like when you see the number 20 throughout this text amendment, it's because we never inserted the number 20 recognizing the PDD. The lower level is the lower level, is always recognized on the architectural plans, the building permit, the tax assessor's office. A basement is a space like a house. It's the wrong term. You know, we couldn't have a tenant in a basement. Like, we couldn't put an MRI in a basement, but you could certainly have it on the lower level. When all the architectural drawings and structural engineering drawings were done, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, sprinkler, they were all done as if it were a 3-story building. One of the things I wanted to give you an update on is when you go to the second package here, there's a site plan of the original SP 100 that has the zoning data indexed on it. And you flip to the second sheet, I've updated that data sheet to let you know that there are a lower, main, and upper level plan. And one of the things I wanted to point out, if you go to the far right column, the modification actually points out and gives us square footages of the lower, the main, and the upper level plan. The upper level plan, if you probably remember, it had the two 1,000 square foot apartments, which are occupied, and I must say they are, I wish I could move in one. Wife tried to get me in, but I didn't pass, you know, the test. But that whole upper level is not accessible to the public. You can't get to it. For what it's worth, what's changed from 2013 till now is they can run those movies right from the main level digitally, but they have to go up and monitor equipment. So, you know, 2 employees go to that level every day and they monitor the equipment to make certain that the feeds, like when they send the signal to the digital programmer, that, you know, yes, you've paid for the movie and now you can show it, that's in order. So the only really 2 levels we're speaking about here are the lower and the main level. The main level is fully occupied, and the lower level is slowly getting you know, feedback from the commercial market with the new MRI for the medical users above. It's something that, you know, I need to straighten out. And one of the things for building permitting and zoning permitting, one of the things I wanted to point out to you is that if you look at the total ground coverage as a percentage of lot, you know, we're at 9.54 and we're less than 20. So we have no issues where we're broaching coverages, and there's nothing more that you can build there because of the 24 acres, the other 12 acres on the other side of the river, you know, that's a conservation area. If you were to go to the second sheet or third sheet that looks like this, what I wanted to point out to you is to use a lower level when we start working with building officials and fire marshals. That area that's in that kind of light orange color, that's the corridor that actually has to be constructed to provide 2 means of egress out of a space. And that in itself is over 9,000 square feet. So that's not rentable space. That's not like space over at Southbury Green where 100% of the building is rentable. So only 36,581 square feet of this space is rentable, and the small space to the left is the proposed MRI lab, which only has 2 employees, and there's only 1 person at a time that can use it, and it's usually associated with the medical use above. So if you go see the doctor, you know, you may be then sent down to this space behind. One of the things that I wanted to undertake, because I knew the Planning Commission, the Zoning Commission spent some time on it. Well, Hugh, we want to make certain that you reviewed the lower level here, that you had, you know, sufficient parking. And so what I did is I contacted Sharat Kalouri, the original traffic engineer, and he has prepared analysis here. That site was supposed to have 400 parking spaces. It only has 384 because we saved a tree out in the front, that shagbark hickory.
Yeah, I remember.
We redesigned it. I can get you back to 400 trees, but I really don't want to go there because, as people have said, it's a specimen shagbark hickory tree because it didn't grow up in the forest. Nothing grew around it, so it's a perfect shape and form specimen. So we've received a lot of positive reviews about the tree and saving it. So, but we have 384 spaces, and Sharat went through 3 methods for developing traffic generation, and the reason this, main and lower level work is because it's a perfect use of mixed uses on the site, where they all have off peaks throughout the day. The other primary reason that this works is your board and the zoning commission originally approved this project with 1,200 seats. Only 714 were built.
Yeah.
Okay, and the reason that happened is because during the design and the PDD process, the whole industry changed their attitude about seat sizes. And so Robert Laflamme had to go ahead and order these large seats that had heated seats in them. And mind you, that's not something that, you're kind of told that you have to do that to keep your theaters upgraded for Sony or Disney, so they'll send you movies, because if you don't have a movie house that has these types of amenities, as well as popcorn, soda, and you're not gonna get on their list of getting the movie first. So Sherrod went through here, and his engineering reports are here in the back, and of the 334 days, Friday parking analysis is always at the worst time or the most complex, and we're at 344 total demand at 2,000 hours on the theater. And he also did an analysis for me on Saturday, and that too, they were at 263 at 2,000 hours, and we had a peak demand on the site of 333, so 331. So I was happy that the traffic analysis, supports this proposal we have before you tonight. And my goal, because the gentleman behind me here from Economic Development, he gets a lot of inquiries about trying to rent this space, and we need your support tonight and hopefully a positive referral back to zoning, so we could, get building permits going to get this MRI machine in, which is a unique piece of equipment to have for tax base in our community. If you have any questions for me, I'm here to answer them for you.
I do, go ahead.
I just had a quick question about the parking spaces that, did your new formula also take into account that, didn't you lose parking spaces with Mercado expanding
Yes,
outdoor
yes, but
dining?
the other thing
But
I
that's not
need
really
to
an
point
issue.
out to you, and we never undertook this method, is the town of Southbury allows an application to use, what do they call them? Smaller parking spaces, okay? Compact, I couldn't think of the word, sorry. All our parking spaces are 9 by 18 per your standards. We could use 20% compact spaces, okay, which are 8 by 16. There are no compact spaces on this site. So if I had to pick up, I think I could pick up almost another 48 parking spaces if I converted fulls to compacts. I personally have never been a supporter of it, just because I think our population still has some big cars and Tahoes, Suburbans, and pickup trucks, and they don't work too well in compact spaces. I just didn't want to go down that route. To me, it wasn't a last resort. It worked, and it wasn't like it was close. There was a good buffer, and having worked with Sherrod for over 20 years, he's just a traffic engineer that I have great faith in, and I've always, supported his work.
And I have one more question.
Yep.
I can't remember, are there sidewalks on the side?
Yes, there
So you
are.
can use the back,
You
the
can
lower
walk
level
right around the
parking,
whole
and you can-
building,
okay,
correct.
Great, thank you.
So
What
mine
is
was
this?
just more of a clarification. That lower level, I've been down there, but
Yes,
it is walkout.
direct. That's
So-
why it's not a basement.
So it's very similar then to Southbury Plaza, which we approved, to those new storefronts
Correct.
that we actually converted a basement
Right.
to a walkout.
Correct. But
So-
it's, mind you, that was a basement, but they
Right.
had to dig it away to make it a walkout.
So now it's the
But
same
it's
thing.
very similar to projects you've approved that weren't PDDs at 730 Adam Broderick and 760, Burgers and Burritos building.
Mm-hmm.
They all have the lower level walkouts. So they're all in concert with each other, and that has to do with the topography of that entire
Right,
district there.
now, are there parking spaces on that lower level at all?
Yes, there are.
Okay, so
Behind the
if-
entire building, correct.
Okay,
Also, the same type of situation of the lower level is also true for 800 Main Street. The old brick building or the old furniture store, behind that as well, where the child care centers used to be. It's the same identical concept architecturally.
so it's just built on a hillside? and
That's correct.
you have a walkout?
Yes.
No-
Stu,
no
is
pro-
there any square footage that's allocated for the operators of the theater? Do you show that?
That's all part of your original approval.
Okay.
That's on the,
But since the apartments, what is that? I don't see that square footage.
that's on the third floor.
Yes,
The upper level plan,
Yes.
projection level and apartments. You
yes.
come all the way over to the far right, it's 6,052
Oh.
square feet.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the commission?
So if MRI goes in there,
Yes.
whatever this other one is,
That existing one is a prep storage area that connects directly to the restaurant.
oh, okay.
We've had, just so you know, over the past 5 years, all kinds of inquiries, but this year it's gotten really real with the commercial vendors and with COVID. We've had requests for bowling alleys, we've had requests for, again, I didn't realize it, but I had no idea how many people, men and women, in a 25-mile radius of Southbury have high-value collector cars. Had no idea. Apparently, there are approximately 100 Ferraris, okay, in that area, okay? And these cars have less than 1,000 miles on them, which I guess you're supposed to have. And they were looking for custom car storage. Well, we did a plan on it and we came up where you could have 118 spaces in a building to store it. But then we learned about, well, you got a problem with insurance.
Say, fire marshal might have
Well,
something to
then
say
there
about
was,
that.
then that was another thing about the gasoline. And then, so it was a great idea, but it just never
It's
materialized.
also
The
great
bowling
'cause
alleys.
it's close to the training school where they do the car fair.
Correct,
Like the car
correct.
shows, yeah.
But there's been, for, uses for more medical, there's been, issues for people who've talked about breweries, daycare, office space. It just, so it's really starting to percolate where it was dead 6 months ago. And just so you know, with our particular practice, right now, office, retail, and restaurant, it's been dead for a year. Nothing.
Okay,
It
thank you.
just, but this is just another method that we could clean up the PDD text amendment, so the land use office and zoning department could have a document that would allow them to license, the building permit cycle.
Thank you. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I would if I could address the commission and read something into the record and then I'll pass it around. Kevin Bielmeyer, Economic Development Director for the town of Southbury. Distinguished members of the Planning Commission, part of the economic strategy for growth in our town is dependent on maximizing our existing properties. Therefore, I wish to state my position of support for the application 11199 and strongly encourage the commission to offer a favorable opinion to the zoning commission for the modification to the detailed plans and text amendment number 6 of 690 Main Street South to allow businesses to be located in the lower level of the building. Time is money is not simply a phrase, it is a reality. I cannot overstate the importance this ruling has to the ability to attract viable and tax-generating businesses to Southbury. There is terrific potential for commercial growth in the balance of PDD 20 still yet to be realized, and that potential can begin now with your help. Therefore, I respectfully ask the commission that you offer a favorable position to zoning on this application tonight. Yours truly, Kevin Bielmeyer, Economic Development Director, Town of Southbury. Thank you.
Thank you.
I move to provide a positive referral to the zoning commission.
I'd second that.
A favorable recommendation?
Favorable recommendation.
Okay. With still any specifics, or that's it? That's your motion? Simple?
Yes.
Okay, we have a second?
Yes, I second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Once again,
Thank
thank
you.
you all. I greatly appreciate your help and guidance.
Oh,
It'll be good for the town.
Thank you. Good job. Yeah.
Have a good night.
Good night.
That's it for you? Just one and done?
What are you gonna do with yourself tonight?
Worked on this for 6 months. This is the first time I've seen you all in a room. Take care.
Okay, we're on under other business, item number 3. The new storefront window. We have some information that's been given us online. Has everyone reviewed that? Is there anyone
Rolf
here?
and
Is anyone
Katie,
here representing?
Are you online?
Yes.
Both of
Yes,
you?
I am.
Who's online?
Okay, just make sure you're unmuted so we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Katie Nightingale with BRR Architecture. I'm representing Gap Inc. And just to kind of do a quick review of our proposal, we're proposing a few exterior changes to a tenant space at the Southbury Green Shopping Center. This tenant space was previously a Jase Bank clothing store, and the new proposed use is an Athleta clothing store. There are 2 parts to this exterior work: signage and a new storefront window. For the signage, we're proposing signs on the front, side, and rear of the building. There are several other tenants that have similar signage, including Home Goods, which is the neighboring tenant. The side and rear signs would improve visibility from Main Street and Brown Road, which is the second entrance to the shopping center. The signs would be internally illuminated channel letters, which would align with the signage criteria of the shopping center. The second part is the new storefront window. So the existing tenant space is very narrow and has only one window at the front of the store, which has a pretty high sill compared to Athleta standards. Adding an additional window would provide better visibility to customers and more natural light inside the store. The new window will match the design of the existing windows to align with the aesthetic of the shopping center. The existing windows on the long side of the space are currently mostly covered or blacked out, and we would like to maintain that treatment, but with a new opaque, frosted-looking window film. And by blocking these windows, it provides enough space on the interior for wall shelving and other display space. So overall, this proposed signage and new window will align with the shopping center design standards and provide a better space for this new tenant. I would also like to note that construction on this project is anticipated to start in early May, so we would appreciate an expedited review process. Thanks.
Thank you. Questions from the commission? Could you describe the opaque window? Does it match or just conform? What is opaque? You don't have a spec for that?
Opaque means that you can't see through the glass.
Yes, but is it
So-
dark? Is it black, the same?
I believe what we're proposing is more of a lighter color, more of a white.
So that is different. Did you review the signage regulations
I did.
for the 3 signs?
I did.
And?
So the signage regulation for this PDD is
rewrite their sign package to something more clear. Currently, what is permitted is one sign facing the parking lot.
Yes.
However, in the past, there has been permits that have allowed signs on the side of the building for both, in the past, Staples, Jose Banks, and now Home Goods on the Main Street South side of the building. I don't see how that can be denied, considering that those things have been approved in the past. However, according to the zoning regulations, if there's a building with rear parking and rear public parking and rear public access, they're allowed a sign on the rear of the building. That's not the case with this building. There's no public parking. I think we've all been there. There's no public parking, there's no public access. That's my feeling on the signs. Historically, there has been signs on the side of the building, although according to the regulations, from what I can discern, it appears only one sign is permitted in the front. But like I said, that the regulation really needs to be revisited. So,
We just updated them.
no, not that one, for the PDD.
Oh, I'm
The
sorry.
PDD regulation.
Okay,
It's very confusing.
so really, that hasn't been updated along with the sign
It
regulations.
has, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ron?
Isn't there a Joseph Bank sign on the side of the building that they're talking about?
There was, you're correct.
Yeah, and there's parking spaces. When you come in, there's 1, 2, 3, there's probably about 12 parking spaces
Yes,
that go along that side.
yes.
Okay, so that would meet the criteria in a sense that it's facing parking spaces. I understand you're only supposed to have one sign.
You're right, and that's probably why it got approved. When it was approved was, back with Staples. Initially, Staples had a sign where the Jose Banks sign was, and then they applied for a permit to move it, if you're facing the building, to the left towards Brown Road. So Staples moved their sign to a spot on the left, closer to Brown Road, and that's when Jose Banks put their sign in where Athleta is proposing their sign. And you're correct, there is parking both facing the building and facing the road, so, yeah.
Was the side sign ever approved? I thought it was not approved, that it was just
It was approved on a zoning permit,
bypassed.
I mean,
Okay,
way long time ago.
yeah, and there are no signs in the rear. Is that
Not that
correct?
I'm aware of.
There are no signs,
There
what?
should not be signs.
In the rear of the
In
building,
the rear,
which is their third
yeah.
sign request.
Hi, guys. This is April. I'm on the line. I'm from Gap Inc. I represent the architecture and engineering team. I know we're talking about the rear sign at the Athleta location, which is currently Joss A. Bank. I would like to note that at the opposite end of this center, there is a Chico's. That Chico's location has a very similar condition to the Athleta space, where it is an end cap space. And they do have a front, side, and rear sign at that building as well. So I can't speak to obviously if that was permitted or not, but it's a very similar condition, and they do not have parking directly behind that building either.
I don't think that was approved either.
It's on that.
I don't think that sign was approved
I
either.
haven't looked into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, our sign regulations don't permit that.
Or in the back where the door.
Sorry,
Not in
Alex,
the back.
can we all hear?
I'm sorry. So
Yeah.
I'm asking for the rear sign for Chico's, is that on the side where the road is? You know, where the
No,
I don't know what you call it.
no.
Yes,
it's
where the
all-
patios are gonna go, or is it where the door is for well, it wouldn't have access in the back, in the way in the back. So it's on that
The Main Street South.
patio?
I believe it's on the patio side is what it sounds like she's saying.
But I
I don't
don't
recall it on
think,
the
I
patio
don't think
side.
it was approved.
My,
yeah.
my comment was gonna be though, looking at this plaza overall, the vast majority of the storefronts face Main Street South,
right.
and they all have signage.
Correct.
And now with the window changes, this is going to appear like it faces Main Street South. So I think it would be in keeping with the majority of the plaza. And due to the fact that there's been issues of, whether these signs have been properly approved or not, they've been there for so long, I think we're gonna have a hard time going backwards. I do agree that the issue has to be looked into and addressed and cleaned up for future, but I don't see a problem with this. And I think it would be in keeping with the whole flavor of the plaza, and it would be a benefit to get, more stores
Even one,
back in
even
there.
lighted sign on the rear, on the Brown Road side,
Not on the Brown Road side,
but facing. yeah.
facing Main Street
Right,
South.
right. I agree with that.
In order for us to approve an exception, it would set a precedent. There may be some further, we should look into that. But, I mean, we can approve the first two and then take a look at that so that we're not,
So you're saying
We wanna
approve
see-
the windows but not the signage? Is that what I don't know what you're saying.
I'm saying that they've applied, they're applying for 3 signs. The 2 meet their regulations, the third one does not.
Okay.
And so it would be, I think, prudent for us to follow our regulations. If we want to change it, that's another thing, another item. But at this point, we don't want to then open that up to more and more and more signage, which is not our intent in Southbury.
But-
That's my opinion. Yes, Ron?
My feeling is there's a sign there already where they want to put this sign.
There was a Joseph A. Banks sign,
Joseph A. Banks sign.
which was not approved as far
And a
as I know.
Staples sign was there. So there is a precedent being set already, and I agree with Bob that if we tell them they can't put the sign there, they'll say, hey, we're keeping, it's already there. You've already set the precedent. You've set the precedent for years. I'm not I think,
That's not the question. We have sign 1 is in the front. Sign 2 is on the side, what you're talking about. Sign 3, they want another third sign on the back. That's what we're talking about.
oh no, I didn't see that.
That's what they just represented.
This is April, that is correct.
So they want a sign on that back road that goes.
That faces Brown Road.
Brown Road. No, that's different.
Okay, so now we understand, yeah.
Yeah, that's
April, what is your last name?
Last name is Bosworth.
I didn't get that.
possible.
And we would be, I think, comfortable with if you guys could, like you mentioned, approve the front and the side. If you need to take the rear offline for further review, that is something we can move forward with to allow us to proceed with the project. And also with the proper, reviews and approvals that require next. And then in addition, of course, the storefront is the piece that we'd like to also get your approval on, that new display window at the front of the store.
And
I'm sorry, April, you broke out a
Yeah,
little
it's
bit there.
difficult
Could
to understand you.
Could you repeat that last part about, I think you were talking about, well, I don't know that you were talking about the windows, but the,
Sure. Can you hear me now?
yes.
she said no
Okay.
third sign.
Sorry, I said that if we could get your approval on the storefront sign along with the side sign, that would be great. If you guys need to take the rear sign offline for additional reviews, we're comfortable with that, but we would like to get your guys' feedback and obviously proceed with that if at all possible. But we would also like to get your approval on the display window at the store.
Is there any way you can give us some specs on those, the windows that don't seem to conform with the rest of the,
Yeah, we do have the specifications. They are listed in the project drawings. We can definitely provide those to you guys. It is, like like Katie mentioned, an opaque frosted film. We do use that at all of our Athleta locations. We can also provide an example imagery if necessary.
well, we can't, we don't have any control over that, but we would prefer to have it conform with what's existing for the window treatment. Yes.
the window covering is the fact that they're proposing a whole new window.
Yes.
I just am concerned about it breaking up the uniformity of the building.
Okay. Let's have the commission look at that again.
So if I could ask, on page 4 of 6 on the PDF, on the site plan that was provided, that's where you're proposing a new window? Oh, you just passed it. That one.
No, it's
No, that's the rear.
earlier, it's earlier in the package.
Thank you.
When,
Copy it
That's
out.
page 2 of 6.
it's, go back, no, you just missed it. Yeah. So Katie, do you want to explain that window to the left?
I see.
Sure. So you see the front doors there. Everything from the front doors to the right, that is all existing. The new kind of 3 by 6 pane window to the left of the entrance doors, that's what we're proposing to be new.
Jessica, is that also a new roof? No. Okay, that's existing.
Excuse me, if I'm looking on page 4 of 6, can you please explain that one to
No,
me?
it's 2 of 6. I was incorrect, Ron. It's page 2 of 6 is where the window is going.
It's what's on the screen right there, right?
Yeah.
To the left.
No, it's the windows to the
I was
left
incorrect.
that have the T marked on each window pane. That is new.
Scroll down a little bit. Or up, I guess. The other way.
How do you see it as non-conforming?
I didn't say it's not conforming, I think
No.
it's a modification to both the detailed plans,
Yeah, no, I understand that. This, I
And-
don't understand that.
a text amendment. More because it's a change
Oh, okay.
to the building. So all of these there.
This is the,
Yeah.
okay, this is just the signage. These are the windows. Looking at the other, doesn't make any sense.
Yes?
I just wanted to address the commission at the appropriate time.
And the-
Go ahead.
and-
Okay. So distinguished members of the planning commission, I just wanted to state I'm highly encouraged at the level of investment that Regency Centers have made in PDD number 8, Southbury Green. The improvements to the property, their buildings, and especially the construction of the on-site sewage treatment facility all demonstrate to potential businesses looking at Southbury that you can bet on Southbury. It's even more encouraging to me when prospective businesses take them up on that bet. Such is the case with the National Retail Clothing Store, whose application has been referred to you. In this very competitive business, successful retailers such as this one have a choice, and they have chosen Southbury with this application. You will notice that the changes proposed in this application, I believe at least, are in keeping with the aesthetic and character of the existing building and provide additional light to the interior, thereby improving the retail experience for their customers. The signage, and I know we've discussed the front, back, and side, and obviously the back is there's not really a precedent except for that one store. But beyond that is appropriate to today's need to tastefully, and I use the word tastefully, entice visitors. Thus, after reviewing the application myself, I would like to state for the record my support of the modification of detailed plans and text amendment number 14 pertaining to PDD number 8, Southbury Green. Kevin Bielmeyer, Economic Development Director. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you explain what you just said about it increases the interior lighting?
Correct. One of the reasons for the decision to add these windows is to allow more light, natural light to come into the store.
But they will be opaque.
Well, and not in this case, the opaque ones,
Yeah.
well, I'll let them explain it, but the opaque ones
Or on the
serve a
side.
different purpose. Interior wise, they'll have shelving, et cetera, which would block those windows. See, so it has to do with the configuration of the store. Inside, because they are gonna be blocking windows with shelving, they have to have the opaque windows and thereby let more light in to a different part of the store, which is what this corner is essentially.
did the applicant want to say something in response to that?
They probably want to say more than that.
Oh, I was just going to say that that was correct, and that the storefront windows that are currently on the screen are completely visible and will allow more into the space.
If I could say something.
Sure.
I'm going through the documents that were sent to us, and I'm looking at an actual, it's, I guess, labeled as, sorry, Greg Kuhn, alternate.
I'm sorry, Greg.
That's okay. So I'm looking at an actual photo of the Joseph A. Bank storefront, and it's the actual photo of what we're looking at in terms of the print up on the screen. And I'm kind of just going from looking at the photo on my phone to the print, and honestly, I'm looking at it and saying, yeah, that'll look good. I'm liking the way the windows look. They're going to be the same dimensions. Each window pane is the same dimensions as the one on the right. I could see how the door is positioned. There's balance there, and I'm not really seeing an issue personally. But if I could have you maybe pull up the photo that I'm looking at in the documents that were sent. I don't know what page to call that.
Yeah, it's.
Thank you.
It's the first PDF that we got on the. We got two. The first PDF, number 8, has that picture.
That's it, right there. Right, and so just imagine that whole set of windows on the left side of that left column. I don't know if there's a way to rotate that PDF.
We can see it, yeah. Any further questions or concerns?
Nancy, it's Mike Rosen. Can I chime in for just 1 minute?
Yes.
I normally don't engage in these kind of conversations. I leave it to the commission, but I do think it's important. I can't speak for the entire Board of Selectmen, but I can speak as a selectman. Southbury has had a reputation that we've been working to overcome of being a difficult town to work with when it comes to economic development. Kevin, our economic development director, has done an extraordinary job, I'd argue, in his tenure in bringing and attracting new business to town. To Greg's point, I believe the changes that are being requested by the applicant are inconsequential and actually improvements that would improve the shopping experience and improve the aesthetic of the plaza. And I would encourage the Planning Commission to take that into account in their decision and to take any steps they actually can to move this process forward for the applicant to continue the advancement of our economic development in town. Thank you.
Do you have any further input? Nope. Okay. So we would need to have a motion?
I certainly,
You have another question?
well, no, I just wanted to kind of say that I certainly support the 2 signs. It's the rear one. I would want just to
Eliminate.
drive back there and see kind of what, but I'm not necessarily swayed on that 3rd sign in the rear, but the window and the 2 signs I don't have any problem with.
Yes, Ron?
I'll second that. I agree with everything except for the rear sign.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion?
So I'd be happy to make a motion to accept the request.
It's a referral from
I'm
the
sorry.
zoning commission.
To provide a positive recommendation for the front and side sign and the window, I guess, and the change to the window of the Athleta store.
Okay, and we can refer to the
Refer to the referral. Sorry, that was not worded
A3B,
as.
amendment number 14.
Yes.
Is there a second? Thank you, Ron.
As long as it provides no window, no sign on it.
Yes, she made that
Okay.
amendment. And any further discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Okay, next item on our agenda is the White Oak Meadows subdivision. So it was null and void, and it's no longer null and void?
You are correct. So this has been something that I've been researching, Debbie and I have been researching for months. I don't know if you are aware, this property has been for sale. I have received many, many inquiries about it and whether or not the subdivision was still valid. And it turns out that it is still a valid subdivision because the declaration of it being null and void was based on the fact that the condition of the shared driveway the work on it hadn't begun. But the general statutes define work as municipal public improvement. Being that it was a shared driveway and not a public right-of-way, it doesn't fall under the category of work. So it was incorrectly declared null and void, and for sake of all these inquiries I'm getting about this, it would be in our best interest to amend that on the land record. I've spoken to Steve Byrne and Attorney Tinley on this just to make
Oh,
sure that
good. Okay,
I'm sorry?
that was my question, okay.
Yes, to make sure I'm on the right track with this. And they have both recommended that this is the way to handle this. In fact, Steve Byrne said, I emailed him back and forth, he said because it was a planning commission that declared it null and void, he said it needs to come back before the planning commission, it needs to be heard, and this commission is the only commission that can rescind the declaration of making it null and void.
In the future, instead of the term work, what should we use? Because that's true, that if subdivision, was it bonded?
It was bonded.
And did we pull the bond?
The bond has been released, yep. But it was a bond, so you can't, what it was bonded for, it shouldn't have been bonded for in the first place. You can bond for landscaping and soil and erosion controls and things of that nature. So this is in keeping. They also did a payment in lieu of open space, which hasn't been paid yet because the lots have not been transferred. So it's there's no caveats, there's no hidden whatever. When somebody buys this property, they will have to resubmit a Mylar of what they're proposing, I would think, or a site plan at the very least of what they're proposing, and move forward with the subdivision in that way.
Usually when we request a bond, there would be soil and erosion controls bonded along with a driveway improvement, so it may be a gray area there. We want to make sure that the wording on the bond did not include sediment, soil and erosion control.
I believe that it would have to get rebonded. Is that correct, Debbie?
For sure, yes.
Before anything else could happen
Right.
with
We
it.
do we have any written opinion from,
I have
the
an
attorney-
email from Steve Burns.
okay, and you said you talked to our town attorney also?
Yep.
And he was of the same opinion?
Yeah.
I think we have to be very careful and note for the record then that regarding the bond, it should probably not have been released. I don't know if it's a shared driveway.
I don't think the problem, it was a problem that it was released. That wasn't what the issue was, right? I have the file here, if that would
See, that would have to go back to.
So they would have to
The wording
rebond.
on the bond
Right,
probably included sedimentation and erosion control.
yeah, they would have to rebond for sure.
Yeah, so let's note the file then if we go forward with this, so that it's clear, we don't have to address it again.
Right. It would need a note on the land record
Yes.
as well,
Yes,
so.
yeah. Can you draft something for us?
Yeah, I can draft something.
Okay, and we can address that at the next meeting, or is this imminent?
It's not pressing.
Okay. Okay, so I would like a motion to table this to the April 20th meeting, if anyone.
Ron?
Okay, Ron?
I'd like to table this discussion, until the April 20th meeting.
Okay, and we can get a draft from you? Thank you. Okay. Member reports. I see we still don't have a report from our COG. Do you have a report, Ron?
I can't read it.
Do you have a report, strategic committee, or?
No, I would like to get to, we forwarded everything, our questions to the first selectman
Oh,
on POCD, on the affordable housing, and there was one other question that was asked, where do we stand on the sidewalks?
okay, could you copy the planning commission on what you've presented to the strategic, which the strategic committee, not a commission. Online, it says it's a commission, it's not a commission, it's a committee. They have no authority, but recommendations to the Board of Selectmen. Could we get a copy of that?
No, I didn't, because
Could we?
he was getting a phone call with the first selectman.
You submitted something to the first selectman or the Board of Selectmen?
He was gonna have a, so, it was my understanding that he was gonna call the first selectman.
So it's a verbal, it's not
Yeah.
anything in
Yeah.
writing?
The next day, he was gonna call the first selectman.
Who's he?
To answer the three,
Who's gonna call?
Mike,
Mike Rosen
yeah,
is going to call.
the president, or the chairman, is gonna call.
Do you mean Rich?
That's not,
Or, I'm not.
Okay, who was,
The chairman was gonna call the first selectman.
Yep.
And he was gonna ask him three questions. Where do we stand on affordable housing? Has a plan been developed? Has money been set aside for it? Where do we stand on the POCD? Has
RFP?
money been set aside?
Mhm.
I think, Bob, the 28th we were supposed to have?
There is money set aside. We've set it aside every single year in our budget since 2012.
We're supposed to see the POCD, the people that, the plans, the number of people that they sent out, that they sent plans back.
Right, Jessica said there are 2 left that are being interviewed, 2 firms.
Oh, you know more than I do then.
I just found out. We don't know anything. And traditionally, we will interview those last 2 and give a recommendation, but
Yeah.
I hope it happens. I would like to.
That was those were the three questions, well, those were the 2 questions that he brought forth.
Okay,
The third question was.
I think, well, I think the original question was your presentation to the Board of Selectmen on affordable housing.
Yes,
She was asking if that report could get forwarded to the Planning Commission.
yes,
I thought I already did. Oh, absolutely. I could do it when I go home.
thank you.
That's all she was asking.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought,
yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, we certainly should have,
I thought I already did, but.
yeah,
no
because
problem.
it'll
I
be
go
our,
home.
yeah.
It'll be in your email tonight.
Okay, Jessica. To Jessica, yeah, also. Thank you. I would like to address what I've read in the papers about the Strategic Planning Committee addressing Southbury Training School future plans. And what I understand is that they didn't know that we already completed that, and it has. all of the engineering of every building, it has all of the mapping. We had meetings with every single board and commission to create this, and we hired, I think it was $24,000 or something, we hired Mylona McBroom to complete this. They did a wonderful job. And then we had a public information session where and a questionnaire also, where the public gave their creative ideas for what will happen when the state decides to sell this, and we would like for right of first refusal. And also, what has happened in the meantime is that 900 acres of that property, which the Strategic Planning Committee should know about, has already been approved by the state of Connecticut in perpetuity for agricultural use.
That's on the back side by Roxbury side.
You'll see the map. It's in Town Hall. And Southbury Land Trust has been given that by the state, and they worked very hard. They worked for 2 years to get that, but this information has to get to the Strategic Planning Committee. It's all been done already.
Now, Nancy,
Yes.
it's Mike. So my understanding is that part's all known. That part's all known. The questions that were put forth to the Board of Selectmen were questions not about how we might use the land. They were questions to begin to really start pushing the state forward to give us some clarity on what their plans are. Because our plans are meaningless without the state buying. So I do believe that all of that information and all of that work that was done, because I participated in those public meetings. I believe that at least most members of the Strategic Planning Committee were aware of those. The questions that they put forth, which were very well done, were really more about what's the state's plan? Because right now, we don't know anything. And we think there's a 5 to max 10-year window where there will no longer be residents at Southbury Trains.
Yes, that was also part of the plan. That was what the state told us at that time. There are something like 52 residents left there.
More than that, but it's a little more than that, I believe. But
Yeah.
I don't have the paperwork in front of me. But yeah, but I don't believe it was an issue with what our recommendations were. It's really starting to really try to push the state to give us a line of sight, finally, into what their plans are for the future.
Yeah, I don't think that's changed, but so the impetus for the Strategic Planning Committee is to get information from the state. Is that correct?
No,
On their
well, they do research, and then they report to the Board of Selectmen.
research with the state?
Right.
Not us.
Because plans for the school were one of the main, were a key element of the Strategic Planning Commission's initial recommendations to us.
Does the Board of Selectmen have copies of our Southbury Training School future use study?
Oh, I remember reviewing it, but it was a few years back, but for sure. And I think 5 of the 6 of us who are on the Board of Selectmen currently were here when that happened.
Yes, perhaps you could be our liaison and remind them, or maybe copies could be given to them. And I wonder if it would be advisable to give a copy of this to the state also. Something that.
I think that could be a good idea. Yeah, I think that could be a good idea, because clearly the residents had a voice.
Yeah, we're all on the same page. Okay, under memo reports, though, we still have not gotten anything from our COG representative. I did email him and ask him to at least review our minutes, to give us a copy of the minutes from the planning arm of COG so that we would know what they're working on, and I have not heard anything. Have you?
I have not, no.
Okay, so that's the report on that. We're up to the minutes, review of the minutes. Just one comment I have on page 3 of 6. Page 3 of 6, the third paragraph. I remember that the applicant stated that no outside storage would be above 8 feet in height, and I don't see that here. I think that's very important. Yeah, remember that? Yes.
I'm not sure about the 8 feet, but I know that there was
It was an 8-foot fence. It's an 8-foot fence, so they said it would not exceed the height of the 8-foot fence.
All I remember them talking about was that there would be an 8-foot fence, and I
No.
don't remember him saying that.
Yes, he did.
Actually, I
Yes,
think
he did.
We
Yeah.
were talking about that on the side.
Yep.
We were talking about open storage.
Yes,
And we were talking about yachts coming in there, or trailer trucks coming in there, and we said that the height shouldn't be greater than 8 feet.
yes, and he agreed. I think,
Yeah, Steve Sullivan had mentioned that, 8-foot
mhm.
fence and landscaping with evergreen trees.
Yes.
But it was Mr. Laban that mentioned that it wouldn't be higher than the 8 feet.
Yes,
If we go back to the audio, I think you'll
Yes.
confirm that.
yes.
Are you talking about the motion itself? They should be in the motion?
No, in the minutes, because that was our discussion, and that's what he represented and agreed to in our minutes.
But where do you, okay. Yeah, see, Mr. Sullivan reiterated, see this part here? 8-foot fence.
Yeah, but
But where do you want me to add it in? Where should it be?
In paragraph, page 3 of 6, paragraph 3, just above those 2 stars there. Applicant stated no outside storage above 8 feet.
Yes, but it is on page 2 of 6. On the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraph, it reads, Mr. Sullivan reiterated,
That's the trees, right?
detailed plans will, when submitted to the commission, as referenced from the zoning commission, will include an 8-foot fence and landscaping, evergreen trees, and 6 to 8 feet high, growing to 12 feet, creating a buffer.
Yes. What we wanted to be clear about was the storage. The storage was of any RVs or boats or all that.
That's what this is.
No,
No.
that's
No,
the
it's not.
fence.
that's, yeah.
You could have an 8-foot fence and a 12-foot high RV.
Right.
No, I didn't look at it that way.
I think what Nancy was saying is if we could just put in a new sentence,
New sentence saying that
just
Yeah.
one sentence that said the applicant,
Amend the minutes, that's all. And so when we make a motion to accept these as,
yeah,
with the amendment, if somebody makes a,
will not exceed 100 fence.
and also, it was brought up that we hadn't paid, in our lawsuit, we hadn't paid Alter Peterson. And that's outstanding bill for quite some time. Do you know if it was paid?
They've all been paid. I think you spoke to Rich about that, right? Yeah, I've already spoken to him about that. Yeah.
well, that's outside the minutes, though.
Oh, I thought it was in the minutes that we
Well, it is
requested.
in the minutes, but
that we get-
whether
that we
it did
pay.
eventually get paid, that's another outside issue.
That's correct.
Yeah.
We should have a conversation under bills, if there are
Okay.
any outstanding bills.
We will.
I sent him all the paperwork, and he knows everything got paid.
Okay.
Can we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented with the
With the
amendment?
amendment regarding the,
Thank you.
8,
The
no
context.
storage item to be greater than 8 foot in height.
Thank you.
I would make that motion.
I'll
Thank you,
second.
Bob. Seconded by Alex. Okay.
Do you want to vote, or? Nancy,
Pardon me?
do you want to vote, or?
Yes, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, under the correspondence, we had something. It was from
The Board of Selectmen.
First Selectmen, that they passed the resolution lifting the moratorium on the subdivision regulations guide rails. Is there any other correspondence?
Thanks again for all your work on that.
Okay, and if there are any bills? Okay, thank you.
All bills have been paid.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Any other business anyone wants to bring before the commission at this time?
Yep.
Yes, Bob?
Hopefully, everyone's been paying attention. There's an awful lot of talk and research and statements being talked about with Desegregate Connecticut. I think if you would look into that, it actually has bills before the legislature. Basically, there's a request that the state of Connecticut more or less dictate and guide planning and zoning for all municipalities.
Okay, yes.
I personally am not in favor of this. I think it's a dangerous direction. It's gained an awful lot of momentum. It has, go to its website, you'll get a flavor for it. I've noticed that Roxbury recently typed up a resolution, for lack of a better term, taking a stance that they're opposed to this, and they've sent this to Hartford. I'm not asking for us to take any action tonight. What I am asking is that please could each and every one of you take some time, look at the website, get familiar with it a little bit, see what direction they're going, and possibly next month we could have a discussion as to whether we feel we're in favor of this, not in favor of this. I think if we put our head in the sand type attitude, we could get railroaded, and Southbury could change dramatically right from under us with us not having any input in it whatsoever.
Yes, that's what I understand. It would supersede our regulations.
Correct. So please just educate yourselves, and I'd like to have a further discussion at next month's meeting if possible.
Okay, what's the website?
Could you put that on our agenda,
Desegregate
please,
Connecticut.
for the next meeting? Okay, it'll be put on our agenda for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Like there was something sent out.
Well, they send out multiple emails every week, trust me.
What did you say, Ron?
Was Cindy,
Can't hear you.
I think something was sent out either by Cindy or
Eric Berthel?
Berthel,
To who? Who was it sent to?
discussing, informing people about the topic that
Oh.
we're just talking about.
Who was it sent to?
If you're signed up for their email list, they send out email blasts to people that have signed up and registered to receive it.
Whose email list?
I believe our state representative, Cindy Harrison.
Okay.
And there's a lot of talk about, a lot of things. One of the ones that was introduced, I think 2 years ago and last year, was that if the developer challenges, the town on affordable housing, that the town will pay the lawyer and all expenses, whether they win or lose.
Could you get us that information also?
That was another thing that was talked about. I don't think that bill's gonna go very far.
Could you get us that information also? Perhaps we can discuss it at the same time.
I could try.
Add it to our agenda. Please. Anything else? Okay, motion to adjourn? Ron, okay?
I'll second.
Second by Alex. Thank you.
Thanks.
I hope everything's good with.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mike.
Hope everything's good with our chairperson.
Yeah.
Say a prayer. I forgot one more thing. I know we had a link to this, but did you get it? Yeah. Actual copy? Oh, thank God. It's wonderful, isn't it? Full of information.
Digital link, then I got one mailed to me.
Yay. And please look for your copy of this Southbury Training School.
Mine's not in color, but I have it.
Those are all on the town website, just so you know.
They are, but nobody wants to read 65 pages on the website.
It's actually, I found it to be a full page.
Yeah.
Statistics, basically.
Or maybe it was just to me, it was so interesting, I didn't mind it.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Good night. Your shorter works better than mine.
Thank you.
Anyhow,